Whispers in the dark.
Welcome to Thornhill Theatre Space's Whispers in the Dark. I'm Tom Steward of Lonesome Productions, and today we present live on Facebook. Paranormal transmission will be resumed as soon as possible. If you enjoy this terrible tale of televisual trauma, then please join us on Halloween night this year for Ghost Watch Party, a live Facebook screening event at the classic horror film Ghost Watch in its original time slot, 9:25 p.m. on Saturday, October 31st. I will be hosting and answering your questions in real time. Stay tuned after this performance for a short preview. What you're about to see now is a prologue speaking to that sleepless night when Ghost Watch aired for the first and only time. It's 9:25 p.m. on the 31st of October 1992. The village of Dob Cross in northwest England. Ben Bourne's house. We'd been out trick-or-treating in a time before Britain embraced the commercial aspects of Halloween. We're sat in front of Ghost Watch, despite it being on after the 9 o'clock watershed, and us being 10. We're not alone. Kids all over the country are watching, because Sarah Green from Going Live is starring. Craig Charles is also in it, and he was in Red Dwarf, another show that we shouldn't have seen, but had. Later, we will be told the reason Ghost Watch was so scary is that it pretended to be live and factual. But that's not right, at least not for me. At age 10, I don't think I know the difference. Sure, it looks like one of those telethons you get on public holidays, but that's just window dressing. It's all about the house. Ghost Watch is set in a house that looks like your house. Horse ornaments, central heating, plumbing that acts up, cats, bad carpeting, kids whose median age adds up to you, and curtains. Curtains that look like your curtains, even if they don't look like your curtains in any fashion. A moment I remember the most, actually misremember the most, was when a skeleton appeared in the crease of a pair of curtains. It was a skeleton in my mind only. Upon review, it was in fact the meagre outline of a man. To me it was Jack Skellington, a year before I knew what he was. My memory plays telephone with Ghost Watch. I'm too young to appreciate camera work, but Ghost Watch is the exception to that rule. Tied up in the trauma is the way the camera caught a glimpse of a ghost as it panned, then panned back to reveal nothing. I suppose the lesson is, if you want to give your kids a media education, show them something that will terrify them for years to come. The scenes I'm talking about are late on in Ghost Watch. They are crisis memories. They're what preceded Ben Bourne's mum turning the TV off. Though when I watch back, I feel like the damage would have already been done by then. We'd seen too much to simply end it an hour in. Here's how it goes down. Suzanne, a teenage girl being stalked by a child using serial killer Poltergeist types, is possessed and begins to incant fairy tales in a scratchy, echo-laden vocal bass. Ben Bourne's mum goes to the TV and turns the set off. She says something like, "I think that's enough of that now. But don't quote me on that." remember the skeleton. In the ensuing silence, Ben Bourne's dad, ever the joker, looks at his watch and says, "I think it's stopped." He's not serious. Part of Pipes' activity in Ghostwatch was to stop clocks all around the country so that his plan succeeds. In an eerie foreshadow of what would transpire, I once saw Ben Bourne's mum on TV. It was on an Open University program, a college course you could access through television. I ran into the kitchen to tell my parents or grandparents or both that my friend's mother was on television, and no one believed me. It was soon verified, and any fears my family had of me becoming the mass media equivalent of a boy crying wolf, or Jeremy Beadle to give it a name, were promptly allayed. If you were fictionalizing the story, that part of it wouldn't ring true. The characters and themes were already there and fully fleshed out. Ben Bourne's mum, television, a disputed hoax, seeing yourself on TV. It was a sleepover, so we were packed off to bed. I remember being in a room alone. It's certainly possible. Ben had an older brother whose bedroom I would sometimes sleep in when he was staying out. But even if it wasn't true, I think I'd always believe I was alone that night. The feeling would become the reality. Of course, the room had curtains, and given what I'd just seen, that was more than enough to give me a sleepless night. I don't know how long I lay there before I got up and went downstairs to ask Ben Bourne's dad to call my parents and take me home. If it was minutes, then in retrospect I was lucky they hadn't turned Ghostwatch back on. I don't remember explaining why I was so scared. I can't imagine they didn't know. I sat with them until my dad arrived to take me back home, where I slept with the lights on. Ghostwatch was a one-off, but it wasn't over for me or the country. The tabloid press jumped on the story as viewers' complaints escalated. Some of the British public felt they'd been deceived or misled and didn't enjoy being duped by a trusted broadcaster like the BBC. At 10, this went over my head. The other reason for complaints was far more relevant to my situation. Children watched. Ghostwatch had a kids' TV presenter fronting it and was unclear about the target audience in pre-publicity. Some children who watched were traumatized. Cases of PTSD were diagnosed, and a disturbed teenager killed himself. I'm not lending any credence to these attacks on Ghostwatch. The sheer quality of it will always outshine any potential irresponsibility in how it was presented to viewers. Nor am I pretending it didn't have some appeal to children. I'm evidence of it. We were drawn to it, like Heather O'Rourke to the static in Poltergeist. But I'm also the thin end of the wedge, for which I'm grateful. I'm not unaffected. Every time I see Ghostwatch, I can expect a full-body silhouette looming over me when I wake within a day or two, as if I had made an appointment in my diary. But that's a far cry from mental illness and death. The lights were on for a few weeks afterwards. My memory tells me I slept next to the curtains. The geography of my bedroom at the time tells a different story. I once woke up to breathing in my ear from behind the curtains. Oddly enough, this kind of physical encounter did something to break the chain of fear. Like a rite of passage. Once you get your own ghost story, you can put away ghostly things. My parents appealed to the fetal film critic in me to quash my anxiety. I can hear my dad making fun of Mike Smith, a presenter trying to do dramatic acting, as his real-life wife Sarah Green, is in grave fictional danger. Where's my wife? Because of my introduction to Ghostwatch, I don't see it through to the end until I start studying, teaching, and writing scholarship about it. I'm like the skeptic in a horror film, trying to prove ghosts with science. I'm also veering dangerously close to the man caught with contraband who claims it's all for research. Now, an actor, because of my introduction to Ghostwatch, I don't see it through to the end until I start studying, teaching, and writing scholarship about it. I'm like the skeptic in a horror film, trying to prove ghosts with science. I'm also dangerously close because of my introduction to Ghostwatch. I don't see it through to the end until I start studying, teaching, and writing scholarship about it. I'm like the skeptic in a horror film trying to prove ghosts with science. I'm also veering dangerously close to the man contraband claims it's all for research. Now, an actor, the only way I can confront this childhood trauma is through performance art. But I'm also a dad. I now see Ghostwatch through the prism of parental fear, an entirely new dimension of terror. Children's suffering is the new nightmare, and Ghostwatch haunts me for another generation. Thank you for watching and for sticking through our technical difficulties. Quite appropriately, we have a ghost in the machine here, evidently. I don't want to copy Ghostwatch's mistake and make my pre-publicity for Ghostwatch Party ambiguous, so I prepared a very carefully worded teaser that leaves no room for misinterpretation. Live on Facebook, Lonesome Whistle Productions presents an unusual and sometimes disturbing event marking Halloween. Over the last 28 years, there have been countless screenings of the BBC supernatural drama Ghostwatch. The line between fact and fiction has always been unclear. Using the modern idiom of Facebook, Tom Steward hosts Ghost Watch Party. Well, I hope that clears things up. One unequivocal fact is that we will be streaming on the Lonesome Whistle Productions Facebook page from 2020. Check your global list. One equivocal fact is that we will be streaming on the Lonesome Whistle Productions Facebook page at 9:20 p.m. on Saturday, October 31st, 2020. Check your global listings. Can't believe the link kept severing like that. Wait a minute. There's more on here. Round and round the garden, like a teddy bear.